Video editing is a skill that seems easy at first, but quickly becomes very complicated when you start to dive into it. There are a ton of little tricks and techniques that can make everything look sleeker, smoother, and more professional. I'm Chance with the Edmonton Short Film Festival, and in this video I'm going to teach you the basics of editing one of the most common types of scenes in film, the two-person dialogue scene. Ideally, you will have the following shots to work with when editing your two-person dialogue scene. A master shot. This is a wide shot of the room where both characters are visible. You will usually start with this shot to establish the scene. A shot of each character without the other, often called an ISO or isolated shot. Shots of other things going on in the room. These are often called inserts and are used to break up the scene and smooth out cuts. These can be other objects in the room or maybe one of the character's hands or feet. It really depends on what is happening in the scene. You will also want various reaction shots from each character. Having all of these will make your life a lot easier in post, so if you are also in charge of the shoot, then make sure to keep this in mind when you're planning. Here are some other tips to think about when you're shooting to make post-production smoother. Pay attention to continuity. For example, if your characters are talking over a drink, do your best to keep the amount of liquid in the glasses consistent. This rule applies to pretty much everything in the shot, but food and drink are one of the most common ways that continuity errors slip through, and this will make editing later a nightmare. Don't cross the axis. This is one of the biggest rules in the world of filmmaking. If you don't know what I mean by crossing the axis, then picture an imaginary line from one character to the other. Once you pick a side of this line for the camera, it should not cross to the other side or it may confuse the audience. Basically, if guy number one's ISO shot has him facing the right side of the screen, then guy number two's ISO shot should have him facing the left side of the screen. Otherwise, it is not clear that the characters are facing each other. Once the shooting is out of the way, we can get into the editing. So as I mentioned before, you generally want to start with a master shot. This isn't a rule, and it definitely isn't always going to be the case, but it's a good way to establish the setting and the characters. At this point, you may choose to begin the dialogue while both characters are still in frame, or you may want to cut immediately to the person talking. While the first character is talking, it is good to throw in a reaction shot of the other character so that we're not looking at the same shot for too long. Put this shot over the first character talking rather than after. This makes the scene look less choppy, and you can also use this technique to disguise parts where the audio might not match the mouth of the person talking. If you like a specific line delivery in take 2, but otherwise you prefer take 1, then you can splice them together without the visuals giving it away to the audience. Along with reaction shots, you will also want to throw in your inserts over top of the dialogue. These shots keep your visuals varied and interesting, and they can also be used to draw attention to certain objects or actions. Perhaps you want to convey that one of your characters is nervous. You can throw in a close-up of the character's hands as he starts fidgeting. This is a subtle way to clue the audience in on what the character is feeling. And that is basically the whole process. Just rinse and repeat. Switch between the two characters, throw in reaction shots and inserts over top, pay attention to continuity, and add in other angles if you have them. As always, don't be afraid to experiment and make things your own. This is just a general guide to get you started. The best way to learn is by doing. I hope this was helpful to you. Make sure to follow the Edmonton Short Film Festival on social media and check out our website esff.ca for more videos like this one.